I'd like to welcome everybody to the 5,539th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. Rotary 1 is now in session. And let's move right into it with the thought of the day. And after picking on him just a minute ago, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mark Smith. Mark, the floor is yours.
Sure. Hey, everybody. And thanks, Eric, for always mentioning the guitars. So I just want to tell a quick story about Big Brothers Big Sisters, which I told a story a couple of years ago during a thought of the day. I thought I would tell one more just because they're usually very interesting. So a couple of years ago, I had my little brother from Big Brother Big Sisters decided to take a trip to Boston just so he could go see some of the history. He's from Indiana, so that was a big deal for him. So during this trip with my little brother Jeremiah, he kept on pulling out a notebook and making notes like see ocean, or stayed in hotel, or I rode a train. I ignored it for a while, and I eventually asked him, Jeremiah, well, why do you keep making these notes? And he said, well, I'm making these notes of all the things I've gotten to do for the first time to show, to remember what I'm going to do for my little brother for the first time, whenever I become one. And so for me, that was this huge deal. And I don't say it to sound altruistic. I say it to say the little things you do can ripple through. The smallest things you can do can have a lasting impact on the next generation and the next generation after that. So I say this as motivation for everyone at Rotary to continue to do what Rotary does best, which is service. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. That was fantastic and very moving. And I've had very similar moments in my life as well. And it is somewhat of an epiphany because you don't even realize that what you're doing is not just for that individual, but it's just going to get passed down and passed down. You're really paying it forward, as it were. Speaking of ways to pay things forward and help others and help humanity, I want to give a quick pitch for a polio fundraiser that's going on for the month of October for the district. We're really trying to get polio completely eradicated from the earth. You may have heard very recently, thanks in large part due to Rotary, that Africa has recently declared polio free. And so let's just get the last few countries polio free as well. I believe it's Pakistan and Afghanistan are still on that list. So we have a special fundraiser going on through the month. Basically, all donations that you make to the district fundraiser will be matched 100% up to $15,000. And that's thanks in part to our club, Rotary 1, as well as another anonymous donor. The link, by the way, is in the chat box right now. And then those funds that are already being matched up to $15,000 are then in turn being matched 2-to-1 by the Gates Foundation. So at the end of the day, each dollar you raise gives $6 for ending polio. At the moment, we've raised more than $6,700 with the goal of raising $30,000. So you can contribute to that all through the month of October. And when we get to the end of the program, you'll hear about a very special program on ending polio that Marga has organized. We'll get to that later in the program. Before we get to our speaker today, just a reminder that you keep yourself on mute. And when you do have a question, if you have a question for our speaker, please type it into the chat box. And during Q&A, I'll do my best to get to as many of them as possible. Right now, I'd like to pass the floor over to our esteemed programs co-chair, Mr. David Hirsch. David, the floor is yours.
Eric, thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Scott Santi, CEO and Chairman of Illinois Toolworks. Let me start by giving a special shout out to our mutual friend, Greg Brown, CEO of Motorola, for making the introduction to Scott and many other CEOs who've been past recent speakers. Scott and I have a few things in common. You might not know this. We graduated from the University of Illinois with degrees in accounting, he in 1983, 1 year behind me. He also received his MBA from Northwestern University in 1992, 1 year behind me. And in a moment, you'll have the opportunity to address the Rotary Club of Chicago right behind me. let me be quick to say that that's where the similarities end. Scott joined ITW in 1983 and has risen through the ranks over the past 37 years to become CEO. Impressively, ITW, headquartered in Glenview, Illinois, and founded in 1912, has 45,000 employees and generated 2019 revenue of more than $14 billion. ITW also has more than 18,000 patents and consistently ranks in the top 100 companies with patents issued each year. In addition to his business accomplishments, Scott serves on the board of a number of companies and not-for-profit organizations, including W.W. Granger, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. He's a trustee at Northwestern University, Rush University Medical Center, the Economics Club of Chicago. He and his wife, Nancy, make their home in Winnetka and have 3 adult children. Scott, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today with Rotary Club of Chicago. The Zoom stage is yours.
Well, thank you for the very kind introduction, David. And it is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. It's certainly an honor for me to speak to the Rotary Club of Chicago. I applaud and admire the Rotary's commitment to promoting ethical leadership and community service in our city and all over the world for over a century. And it's so great that it was founded right here in Chicago. Now, in preparing to come here today and talk to you, I got a chance to look at the past roster of speakers that you have had. And it goes without saying that you're clearly used to hearing from some well-known and in some cases truly iconic companies. And I'm quite aware that my company, ITW, is perhaps not so well known, and outside of our employees and retirees, would likely not fit anyone's description of iconic. In fact, Jim Cramer repeatedly refers to us on Mad Money as the best industrial company that you've never heard of. But despite our relatively low profile, I do believe that ITW's story, which is a story of over 108 years of enduring growth and performance, offers some interesting lessons. So I'd like to tell you the ITW story, or at least the Cliff Notes version of it. As David mentioned, we were founded in 1912, actually as a diversifying investment for the Smith family, who were the founders of the Northern Trust Bank. In fact, on December 9th, 1911, Byron Smith, the then chairman of the Northern, ran an ad in The Economist that read in part, "Wanted to invest in a high-class growing manufacturing business in or near Chicago." The ad caught the attention of some people in Rockford, Illinois, who had invented tools, actually a new process to produce metal cutting tools. And that connection led to the founding and the name Illinois Tool Works in March of 1912. From those simple roots, we are today a highly diversified global manufacturing company with, as David mentioned, 2019 revenues of $14 billion and a market capitalization north of $60 billion. We have over 300 manufacturing facilities around the world, operate in 57 countries, and have more than 45,000 ITW colleagues globally. We're a business-to-business company. Our products serve as components of other companies' products or are used in their manufacturing processes. That being said, it's highly likely that every one of you are coming into contact with ITW products multiple times every day. The odds are very good that we have some content in your car, in your house, your office building, in the restaurants you visit, or at least are currently producing your takeout, and in the packaging of many of the products that you purchase at the grocery store. ITW products are used in the production of Nike shoes, Caterpillar tractors, and Apple smartphones. We're also a company with a long history of commitment to giving back to the communities where our people live and work. Recognizing the importance of our responsibility beyond our business operations, we encourage and support our colleagues globally in their efforts to make positive contributions through financial gifts and volunteerism. As a company, we are committed to supporting programs and initiatives to improve access to a high-quality education and workforce career preparation for youth in underserved communities, both in our headquarters region of Greater Chicago and also around the world. And over the past 5 years, ITW's community investments have totaled more than $115 million. Today, we make millions of products and serve thousands of customers around the world. However, our primary source of competitive advantage does not come from our technology or our manufacturing or marketing prowess. The company's core competitive advantage, our secret sauce, if you will, is a unique and powerful set of strategic, operational, and cultural practices that we apply in every ITW business. It's what we refer to as the ITW business model. Now, the ITW business model has been in a state of continual development and evolution inside the company for over 30 years. And when properly applied, it results in both best-in-class customer-facing performance and best-in-class financial results. Our business model drives how we operate, how we innovate, and how we execute across the company. On the operational front, we utilize a proprietary operating system that is based on something called the Pareto Principle, or the 80-20 rule that many of you may be familiar with. The Pareto Principle states that for many events, 80% of the effects will come from 20% of the causes. Our application of this principle to our business is based on the fact that, at least in our industrial business-to-business world, 20% of the customers and products in a business typically generate 80% or more of the business's revenue and profit. And at a high level, what we do is utilize this 80-20 insight to structure and focus our businesses to uniquely satisfy the needs and maximize the efficiency with which we serve our largest customers, the 20% that generate 80% of our revenue. And we also, importantly, aggressively minimize the cost, complexity, and distraction associated with serving the 80% of our customers that generate only 20% of our revenues. And while hopefully this sounds relatively simple in concept, the actual application inside ITW is that we completely and holistically redesign the entire business around this 80-20 principle. And that process takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years to fully implement. With regard to the second element of our business model, it's something that we refer to as customer-back innovation, which essentially means that we innovate from the customer back, not from the R&D center out. We don't invest to try to invent and commercialize new science. What we do invest in, and what we are very good at, is applying known science in clever ways to invent new solutions that solve major pain points for our 80 customers. We are a very innovative serial problem solver for our key customers, as evidenced by our portfolio of over 18,000 patents. And thirdly, with regard to execution, the last element of our business model is our decentralized and highly entrepreneurial culture. At ITW, our culture is the engine that translates our strategy into action and action into results that matter. We operate with what I would describe as a flexibility within a framework leadership model. The ITW framework defines our expectations and goals with regard to our company's business model, our strategy for leveraging it to full potential at a given point in time, and our values. These are the non-negotiables for every ITW company. However, within this framework, we give our business leaders wide latitude to customize how they apply the elements of our framework in order to maximize its relevance and impact in their specific part of the company. All of our operational planning and goal setting are built from the bottom up, not from the top down, which ensures that our plans and performance goals are rooted in reality and owned by the leaders who are responsible for executing on them. And our leaders run real businesses with full functional control. Our operating structure is today comprised of 85 standalone divisions, as we believe that all of our business leaders need to own all the levers that they need to execute. Put another way, there are no matrix structures at ITW. Guided by the ITW framework, our leaders think and act like owners, they are accountable, and they deliver. And as I said earlier, ITW has been around for 108 years now, and by just about anyone's measure, a company with our level of longevity and long track record of delivering consistent top-tier performance is in pretty rare company. Just to illustrate that a little bit, I can't go back all the way to 1912, but since 1980, ITW's total shareholder return has averaged 17% annually versus 11% for the S&P 500. And that's over a period of 40 years. A dollar invested in ITW in 1980 would be worth $534 today versus $65 for a dollar invested in the S&P 500. Now, as David mentioned, I joined ITW 37 years ago as a summer intern, which, if my math is correct, means that I've been with the company for roughly a third of its 108-year history. And during my time with the company, we've seen significant changes occur in the business environment, in the competitive landscape. We've seen new technologies emerge and our end markets globalize. We've been through multiple recessions. These sorts of major changes and disruptions in the external environment have gone on throughout ITW's 100+ year history. And I do believe that a real key to ITW's decades of enduring performance is that throughout our history, we've been willing to critically assess our performance and strategic positioning at various key points in time. We've had the ability to see difficulties and challenges coming long before they materially affect the company, and the willingness to change course when necessary. Now, I'm not talking about a new strategy every few years, but if you look back over the arc of our 108-year history, what you'll see is that every 15 or 20 years or so, the company has orchestrated a fairly comprehensive strategic pivot in response to changes in the external environment that fundamentally changed the core of how ITW operated. Now, we initiated the most recent of these major strategy pivots just as I came into the CEO role in late 2012. And at the time, we were coming off a very successful 20+ year run where we had grown the company from $1 billion to $18 billion in annual revenue, essentially by leveraging our 80/20 operating system and a very aggressive acquisition strategy. But by let's say 2010, 2011 or so, while all still generally looked fine to the outside world, inside the company, we were seeing clear signs that the forces of globalization were going to fundamentally alter the competitive dynamics in most of the markets in which we were operating. Specifically, more and more, we were going to be competing with firms from China, India, Brazil, and elsewhere that operated with a very different set of expectations regarding core business profitability and returns on capital than what we and our traditional North American and European competitors did. And that this was going to be a particularly acute issue for ITW businesses that operated in more commoditized markets. So 7 years ago, we developed and implemented a 3-point plan that we felt would best position ITW to deliver top-tier performance in the context of an increasingly complex and competitively intense global operating environment. And the elements of that 3-point plan were as follows. The first is that we had to narrow the focus of our business portfolio. And this was by far the biggest move we made, and perhaps the most controversial, honestly, both internally and externally at the time. But that given the intense competitive global environment that we're now operating in, we made the decision that going forward, we would only operate in markets where product performance was the most important attribute for the customer, where the best solution rather than the lowest price won. More simply put, we decided to exit all commoditized businesses. And as a result, we divested over 30 businesses with roughly $5 billion in revenue and exited another $400 million in commoditized product lines inside otherwise highly differentiated ITW businesses. In 3 years, we shrunk the company by roughly a third in terms of revenue. The second element of our strategy was that we shifted our primary growth focus from acquisition to organic. We believe that for ITW to deliver consistent top-tier performance in this new global competitive environment, we had to focus our energies on growing our businesses by developing and delivering new value-added solutions for our customers. And number three, we got back to basics by refocusing the entire company on driving excellence in the practice of the ITW business model, our defining competitive advantage in the company, and being excellent in applying it everywhere in the company every day. So what happened as a result? Where are we 7 years later as of the end of last year? Well, from a revenue standpoint, we're still smaller. In fact, revenue now is still about 20% or $4 billion below where it was in 2012 when we started down this path. However, operating earnings are actually $1.1 billion or 48% higher than they were in 2012. So let me put those two data points together. Today, we generate $1.1 billion more in operating income with $4 billion less in revenue. Operating margins have improved from 16 to 24%. After-tax return on invested capital has improved from 15 to 29%. Again, that's an after-tax number. And since 2012, earnings per share has increased by 2.5 times. Our market cap has increased by almost 3 times, from 22 billion to 64 billion. And our share price has increased by 3.5 times, from $58 or so at the end of 2012 to 205-ish as of earlier in this week. And cumulative total shareholder returns for ITW over the 7-year period were 246% versus 162% for the S&P 500, and slightly more than that, 166% for our industrial peer group. As you might imagine, we're pretty pleased with these results. And while publicly we may position it as playing out just like we planned it, just between us, these results far exceed what I and my leadership team thought was even possible when we launched this strategy 7 years ago. And in fact, on virtually every key performance metric, the amount of improvement we have generated is roughly twice that of what we aspired to in our strategic plan back in 2012. And I don't know about your experience, but from mine, things actually working better than you planned in business, and especially in a large organization, doesn't happen very often. And so as you might expect, my team and I have done some thinking and reflecting on the factors that contributed to our better than expected outcomes from this strategy. And I'd like to conclude my remarks by sharing some of our observations in the hope that they might resonate in your business as well. The first is that we focused on fully leveraging our strengths, not on correcting our weaknesses. While this might sound obvious, my experience is that more often than not, the opposite happens. And we were certainly guilty of it at ITW. Often the majority of a business's strategic agenda is focused on addressing its weaknesses because the weaknesses are where all the noise is. Investors, analysts, your employees, your customers, they're all more than happy to tell you what you don't do as well as your peers or your competitors. The trap, I think, is that reacting and responding to all that noise ends up consuming the vast majority of an organization's agenda, investment, and energy. And even when you're successful in eliminating a weakness, the reality is that you've likely invested years of effort to merely get to the place where your competitors already are. There's no competitive advantage in it. So once we learn to worry less about what others are doing or are better at than we are, and to focus instead on being the best ITW that we can be by leveraging our strengths to their full potential, our performance really began to take off. The second thing we did is we shifted our focus from the quantity of growth to the quality of growth we were generating. And in this hyper-competitive global marketplace, our data was telling us that scale no longer provided the dominant competitive advantage that it once did. As I said earlier, we are now competing with firms from all over the world that have very different expectations with regard to core business profitability and returns on capital. Scale advantages in this environment can easily be negated by a competitive set that is fundamentally willing to live with a lot less in terms of their expectations. And in our view, in this environment, the most differentiated company wins, not the company with the highest market share. And as a result, we made a conscious choice to trade off growth rate for growth quality in order to focus our growth efforts and investments only in areas of opportunity where we can generate sustainable differentiation. We decided that for ITW, high quality growth is growth that is built on our core competitive advantages, our differentiated business model, our differentiated products, and our differentiated customer relationships. And it is growth that is both value added and enduring, and it is growth that generates returns that allow us to invest in building and sustaining the company for the long term. The third element is that we took the view that the quality of our strategy would be solely defined by what we actually get done. That what matters most is not the quality of the ideas that we put on paper. It's what our organization has the capacity to actually implement while it counts. Simply put, what this means is that we continually asked ourselves a version of the following question: of the 10 things that we could do, all of which would benefit the company, how many can our organization effectively implement at a given point in time? And the answer to that for us is often no more than 2 to 4 at any one time. And our view is that the allocation of our people's time, effort, and energy is a zero-sum game. There's a finite amount of it available. And how we choose to slice the pie is in many ways the most important strategic choice that we as a leadership team have to make. And the fourth and last element is that we decided that resilience and adaptability are much more important than vision. In our view, given the rapid pace of external change, any strategy designed to position ITW to succeed in any one vision of the future or even multiple scenarios is in reality a low probability exercise. Things are just changing too fast. And as a result, we've taken the position that resilience and adaptability are much more important and valuable than vision. And through our strategy, we're more than anything else working to position the company so that no matter what the world throws at us, we will adapt, we will respond, and we'll perform better than most. So that's the ITW story in a nutshell. I thank you very much for the opportunity to share it with you today, and I hope some of these ideas have some resonance in your businesses. And with that, I will cede back the floor and be happy to take your questions.
Scott, thank you for a very enlightening and informative presentation. And that's a Reader's Digest version for a 108-year company. Thank you. So I just thought I'd start off the questions by asking what I hope is a simple question, but obviously a really important one. COVID has changed everything. And as a company with 45,000 employees doing business in 57 countries, I'm wondering if you can sort of summarize what the top 2 or 3 impacts to ITW have been as a relate of COVID, not just from a health standpoint and a safety standpoint, but from a business standpoint.
Yeah, thank you. It is certainly been unlike anything that we have experienced. That's stating the obvious, right? But I think back often to February and March, and as this situation is starting to play its way out, sort of groping for precedents and other times in our history, and none of it was valid, as you all know very well in your own businesses. I would say a couple of things from the standpoint of the diversity of the company. So the structure of the companies, we have 7 $2 to $3 billion businesses. That was certainly of some significant benefit as we went through this, because the impact of COVID was different in all 7 of those industries. We spent a lot of time early in the process, frankly, modeling through a whole variety of scenarios just to make sure we were going to have enough liquidity, that we were going to have enough money. In reality, it turns out that some of this improvement in the profitability profile of the company that I described as a result of our strategy was hugely beneficial in terms of the financial resilience that the company now had. And so our, the process of working our way through it was the first step was tactical, which was, A, are we going to have enough ability to continue to fund the company's operations? We knew it was going to be a relatively severe but short duration hit in terms of the second quarter contraction based on everything that we could observe. And ultimately concluded that for us, we had the wherewithal to withstand that relatively short duration shock, and our focus really needed to be on, A, first and foremost, protecting the health and safety of our people around the world. Second, continuing to serve our customers to the best of our ability. And then third, that we were in a position to ultimately position ourselves to support our customers in the recovery, that this hard contraction was going to be followed by, we didn't know how much of it was going to come back, how soon. But ultimately, if we cut too hard, if we worried too much about this contraction, that we were going to risk our ability to serve our customers for the long haul. So that's how we've essentially played it. We actually had we hung on to all of our headcount through the second quarter, not necessarily knowing for the long haul that we were going to be in a position to fully do that, depending on the duration of how this lasts, but ultimately felt like we had the wherewithal to be there for our employees during the worst of it in the quarter, and all of that has certainly helped us. And I'd say from a recovery standpoint, we've got a big food equipment business, so that's one that's pretty hard hit, as you would imagine, but we have a number of others that are almost back to where they were pre-pandemic. So so far so good.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. We've got a couple of questions coming in here from the audience. I'd say we've got about 7 minutes here, so let's see how many of these we can get through. So the first question is, what is the magic sauce in incentivizing management and employees to get their buy-in?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that the biggest incentive is that these tools that we have developed actually help our people serve their customers better and perform better as businesses. We have, certainly in our prior iteration of our strategy, through the fact that we've taught this operating methodology to companies we've acquired, it's not a, it's something we teach. It's not something we take over and do. And ultimately the ability to help our people understand how to use these tools to serve their customers more effectively, to grow their businesses at a higher quality and faster. The incentive is it has to work. It has to be worth going through the pain. It takes 3 to 5 years to get there. We do have the advantage of a pretty long track record inside the company of these 85 divisions doing well with it. So, when you talk about incentives, it's less about the pay part of the incentive in terms of the adoption of the methodology. It's more the fact that it simplifies things a great deal. We teach them how to clean out the clutter. There's a lot of things in it that are very counterintuitive. We fire customers, we get rid of products. Those are not, they certainly didn't teach me that at Kellogg, that was the route to success. So So we have to show them why ultimately it's better. How does it help them run the business better? How does it help them serve their customers better?
That makes a lot of sense, Scott. Another question, to what extent is ITW's success and longevity due to its Midwest roots?
Well, I'm a born and bred Chicagoan and a 35-year veteran of the company, so I'll acknowledge my bias on both fronts right up front. You know, I think there's some, I want to say this without, you know, any disparagement of anywhere, but there's certainly a humbleness at the core of the company that's been here long before I showed up, that I think certainly some of that comes from its Midwestern roots. I think the only way that you're willing to sort of look at yourself critically is you have to believe you don't have all the answers at any point in time. And it's a company, you know, certainly from you know, long before I got here, from the precedent of prior leaders that are willing to say, wait a minute, it's, you know, everything's not going to work the same way forever, and we've got to have the courage to make some changes in our approach for the greater long-term good of the company, whether Wall Street likes it or not, whether our own people like it or not. You know, I think there are some elements of that sort of humble cultural vibe that you know now permeate all over the company, all over the world, that I think are certainly you know, part of the mix in terms of what's kept the company, you know, in pretty good stead for 108 years. I'm certainly trying to be the guy that doesn't screw it up after 108 years. That's for sure.
You and me both, Scott. Since we were founded in 1905 here.
Right.
So,
yes.
But we made it like 1/4 of the way through the Rotary year. So, and we're all still here. So,
Well done.
Yes, thank you. So let's pivot to service and community here a little bit, because you mentioned the ITW focus on youth education. And by the way, Rotary, as you may imagine, focuses quite a bit on youth education, and specifically Rotary One has decided to dedicate a large portion of its community service budget to various educational activities, many of which we've been doing for many years, like our Job One program, giving jobs to youth in Chicago, job skills training, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it would be good for us to hear and learn a little bit more about what ITW is doing in that space, in Chicago at least, and also why did you guys decide as a corporation to focus on education in underserved communities?
Yeah, well, you know, the answer to the last part is pretty straightforward in that that's you know, in our view, that the equal access to a high quality education is ultimately the foundation that every kid deserves, and that is the key to to everyone's ability to live their lives to their full potential in whatever they choose that to be. And it also is you know, frankly, a factor in terms of our workforce of the future. So it's you know, a very apt intersection of where there's a real need in terms of just an investment in the future of our society, with a real business need for the future of ITW. We in terms of our activity here in Chicago, so we were big investors in the initial charter school movement going back at least a decade now. I'd say more recently, what we're really proud of is a couple of relationships with a couple of schools. So we partnered with a charter high school firm called Noble to open the ITW David Spear Academy on the Northwest side. That's a STEM-focused high school serving, an underserved community. David Spear is my predecessor, and so this was a school that we named in his honor. Most importantly, it's been a real active collaboration between ITW and the leadership, the educators at the school. They do a great job. They're turning out 200 kids a year now that are 98 or 9% of which are going off to college. About 96% of them are first-time college attendees. We have ITW people in the school teaching robotics, and we have a whole bunch of neat, fun things that we do in terms of not just supporting the school financially, but ultimately getting involved in mentoring and sponsoring clubs and helping supply them with equipment and all of that. So it's a great relationship. But we have a sort of a parallel relationship with a pre-K to 8th grade organization called Learn. That's also in, I think, 13 places, 13 different neighborhoods with the elementary and middle schools in town. So our focus, our feeling is we rather sort of go, kind of up close and personal, and if we can get a couple hundred kids a year access to a great education, and we can help be part of that. That's probably the best use of our, not only money, but our efforts, as opposed to sort of big dollar things that are certainly well-intentioned and do some good, but we'd rather focus.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Actually, there may be opportunities in the future even to partner on some of these things. So we'd love to learn more about some of these initiatives in the schools and so forth, because we're very much of the same ilk, I think, in this regard, and the same thinking, and that we certainly want to fund things, but we also want to get in there and get our hands dirty, and also try to focus.
I saw your internship program. A lot of these high school kids do internships here and elsewhere. So I think that just to put a note down that we ought to collaborate on that.
That sounds wonderful. I would very much like to do that. So there are a few more questions, but alas, I think we're out of time here. So first, give a virtual round of applause to Scott for sharing his time with us today. And Scott, we would like to send to you a candle in the mail. And this candle is a special gift that we give to all of our speakers here at the Rotary Club. And the idea, similar to what you want to do, is affecting lasting change in Chicago. So all the proceeds from these candles go to an organization called Bright Endeavors. Their mission is to empower young moms by providing transitional jobs and professional skills training. So obviously that helps the moms directly, but it also supports their kids and ultimately the community. So expect to see one of these in the mail shortly.
Thank you. Very kind of you. I'll be honored to have it.
That's fantastic. And we hope to see you back here someday, and perhaps you may even consider joining the Rotary Club of Chicago at some point. We'd absolutely love to have you.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Scott. Take care. Moving to the next portion of our program, I'd like to give the floor to our membership director, Laura Inns. Laura, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. So today we have exciting news. We have another new member to induct, which is Nancy Ross, and hopefully you guys can see her smiling face right now. So I'll go ahead and begin my lovely induction speech. It is with my great pleasure on behalf of the Rotary Board of Directors and members of the Rotary Club of Chicago to welcome you as a member of Rotary One, Nancy. We welcome you not only for the fine fellowship that we shall share, but also for your talents, abilities, and enthusiasm that will help us carry out our many projects to make our community, our country, and our world a better place to live. Now, Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages. So what is Rotary? Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. We believe that through worldwide friendship, fellowship, and international peace can be achieved when people of business unite under the banner of service. So Nancy, you have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago because your fellow Rotarians believe you to be a leader in your profession, and because you manifest the intelligence and commitment of heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are a representative of your profession in this club, and any information of an educational value pertaining to your profession must naturally come to us through you. At the same time, you become an ambassador from us to your profession, and we rely on you to carry the principles and ideas of service which we inspire to those who share your professional activity. The community will know and judge Rotary by your embodiment of it in character and in service. And we accept you as a member because we know our principles and organization will be safe in your keeping. We also expect you to give us the inspiration that will help us become better Rotarians. And it is with this hope that we invest in you, your membership of Rotary. When the time comes, we will also give you a pin. You'll be receiving 2 pins, one Rotary pin and a Rotary 1 pin, which is in the shape of a number 1. It is a sought after pin in the world of Rotary. You will come to know that Rotarians really do love their pins. So we hope that you will wear it proudly when we can get those to you. With that, Nancy, I invite you to introduce yourself to the club. Tell us a little bit about you because we look forward to getting to know you better.
Hi, thank
Oh,
you,
you're-
Laura. Thank you, Laura. My heart started beating faster as you described what Rotary is, because you're a magnificent organization. And I am fortunate enough to have met Eric Kemple through the Chicago Engineers Foundation of the Union League Club. And when I see someone like him involved in an organization, I say this is something that I should be involved in. I had 7 brothers and sisters, so there were 10 of us in a house with 1 bathroom. And there's something that happens when you have that many people living together. You learn to work together, you learn to be honest with each other, and you learn to help your siblings out when they need it. And my parents kind of drove that into us. I mean, driving is not, no, it actually it was very subtly drove into us. Not with yelling or punishments, but basically expectations. So I have always been a child of service. That is what you have to give back to your community. And it goes back to when I first started my profession, which was with Arthur Young & Company, public accounting firm. I said I had moved to Wilmette, and I said I want to become involved. And they had a program through the United Way where they would place you in a local nonprofit. So that was the first organization I got involved in, and it was so gratifying because you made a difference. And my years of service really haven't stopped since then. Now, I'm currently president of the Union League Club of Chicago, which is a particularly big job. But I wanted to take the opportunity to join Rotary now because I may have some time on my hands come next June. And hopefully I can devote it to Rotary projects too. So I want to say I totally agree with your principles. They're the way that I try to live my life, and I hope to be of service to Rotary One.
Well, thank you very much, Nancy. Please, everybody give a virtual round of applause to Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, those were very kind words, Nancy. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a related tangent here, but I can use the president's prerogative for that, which is that the reason Nancy and I met in the first place actually can be tied back to Rotary. So this is a little bit of the story of the circle of life here, because Rotary, of course, meets at the Union League Club. I got engaged with Rotary, started coming to the Union League Club of Chicago for that. And as I was entering the building every week, I was reminded that when I was in high school, I received a scholarship from an organization called the Chicago Engineers Foundation, which it was a bit behind me in my past, and I had kind of forgotten about it, but I remembered when I was back at the Union League Club. And so I was trying to connect with that organization to see if it still existed. I couldn't seem to get through to it. And then a certain John Alberts invited members of the Rotary Club of Chicago to join him and the Union League Club Brass Ensemble for a Christmas concert at the Union League Club, with the proceeds going to the Chicago Engineers Foundation. So as somebody who likes Christmas music and brass ensembles, I did attend it. And sure enough, I met Nancy Ross, told her I wanted to give back to the organization by writing a check. And she said, no way. Well, she said, yes, write the check, but we're not going to stop there, and we're going to pull you in. So it's because of Nancy that I got engaged in the Engineers Foundation and became a member of the Union League Club of Chicago, and then became the president of the Engineers Foundation. My term just ended a few weeks ago. And so now here is Nancy coming back and becoming a member of the Rotary Club of Chicago as I am president. And so, like I said, the circle of life. So thank you very much, Nancy. And we look forward to seeing you. And I will certainly understand in the weeks ahead with the busy job you have at the Union League Club, if that's not possible in the near future. But like you said, after June, we're going to be calling you.
Well, I'm definitely going to attend your programs. If this one is anything like all your programs, it was extraordinary. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much, Nancy. And yes, I do think our programs are pretty top notch. So we'll at least see you every Tuesday night. Very good. So the next segment I want to move to is about member successes. And by the way, if others have successes in their life, in their professional or personal life, please do send them to us, and we'll make sure to feature you, and we can, in our weekly meetings. The first person I just want to congratulate, and she's not a member of our club, but I'm sure many of you know her quite well, and she's a past district governor for our district. Please congratulate Pat Merriweather. She has just been voted in to be the director, Rotary International Director, 2022 to 2024, for the region comprising the central U.S., Mexico, and Central America, roughly. So if you know Pat, please do congratulate her. Another member success that I want to point out a little bit closer to home here, Mr. David Hirsch just had a book released on Audible in September, and I think we're going to put the link in the chat box. David, if you want the floor for 30 seconds to plug your book, go for it.
Eric, thank you very much. So I'll try to be brief. The title of the book is The 21st Century Dads, A Father's Journey to Break the Cycle of Father Absence. It's a book I wrote after doing a bicycle ride, a 2,300 plus mile, 21-day bicycle ride from Santa Monica to Chicago in 2015, and after giving a TEDx talk by a very similar title, which is Why We Need to Break the Cycle of Father Absence. The book is mostly about my advocacy the last 24 years to encourage father involvement in their children's lives. It's about the bike ride, just because who would have guessed that a 54-year-old could ride 112 miles a day for 21 days in a row and live to tell the story. And then lastly, just a little snippet about my own journey to break the cycle of father absence in my family. So the 21st Century Dads Foundation is a 501c3. We are the creators of the Special Fathers Network, a dad-to-dad mentoring program for dads raising kids with special needs. The website is 21stcenturydads.org, and I'll put a little message in the chat box. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, David, and congratulations. So it is now the time in the program where we get to introduce our various guests from around the world. So I'm going to read through the participant list. When I get to you, please just tell us your name, tell us your profession, what you do. And if you're a Rotarian, do tell us your club. Please try to keep it brief because we have quite a few guests with us here today. So the first person I see on the list is Elizabeth Korowski. Elizabeth. You may be on mute, Elizabeth.
Sorry. Yes, Elizabeth Korowski. I'm with Lakeshore Financial Group in Chicago, and I'm not currently a member, but I'm thinking about it.
Excellent. Well, hopefully today's program may have helped tip you in the direction of a yes. But please feel free anytime to continue to be a guest of our club. And Laura Inns, our membership director, or myself, feel free to reach out to us as well. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Erlo Roth. Erlo, welcome back. Good to see you. Erlo, you may be on mute.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I agree that this was a very inspiring talk by this gentleman who was a successful businessman. I'm with the Chicago Northwest, which is a small club, which we're trying now to increase by various means. And it's been a pleasure to be a Rotarian for at least 30 years. And I really enjoyed your club. This is the third or fourth time that I've been here over the years. Thank you.
Thanks, Erlo. And you're always welcome to come back as much as you want.
Thank you.
Sure. Our next guest is almost a regular member at this point, as we joked about at the beginning. Roberto Silva, please introduce yourself. Roberto, you may be on mute. All right. We may have to come back to Roberto, but he's a frequent guest of our club. Always happy to have him. Irv and Ruth, well, you guys are like family, but I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We're happy to be here. We belong to every club, but our favorite is Chicago Rotary 1, and we just love spending these Tuesdays with you.
I'm knitting you a scarf as we talk.
That's awesome.
I'm going to send this to you.
That's awesome, Ruth. I'm legitimately excited about that. I need a new scarf.
Good.
Mr. Santi was just absolutely inspiring. Very, very good program.
I agree. It was great to hear from him. Well, thank you very much, Irv and Ruth. Always good to see you.
Can you hear me now, Eric?
Oh, I can hear you now, Roberto. Yes, please introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. Marga. It's a pleasure to be once again with you. Well, many of you already know me. I'm Roberto Silva, immediate past district governor from District 4340, Chile. I'm an engineer and a member of the Rotary E-Club of Araucarias, the first E-Club in Chile.
Excellent. Well, welcome as always. Certainly look forward to seeing you next week as well. very
I'm going
good.
back to work next week, but for sure I'm going to make some time at 2.
Okay.
Two.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Our next guest is Kent Erb. Kent.
Good afternoon. I am a banker in Kansas, and I'm past president of the local Newton Rotary Club. I'm still a member. I'm also on the district level within Kansas for Rotary, and we just had a pre-district conference meeting about Zoom meetings, and they specifically said, why don't you go and take a look at the Rotary 1 meeting come up next week. So I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to see another Zoom meeting, how Rotary does it around the world.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And I'm flattered that we were cited as an example. Very good. Heath Mielke. Heath, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I'm a finance and accounting executive, new member of the Downers Grove Club, Western Suburbs.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see Martha Herrera. Martha, could you introduce yourself?
Oh,
You're up, Martha.
okay. Hi. My name is Martha Herrera, like Eric said. I am the current president of a big club, the Chicago World Nations. I say big because I'm the only one. I'm the only member. I am currently working with the Chicago Six Corners. It's one of the satellite clubs for World Nations. What am I doing now? I've been in Rotary for it's going to be 2 years this month since the inception of World Nations. And I try to make every meeting that I possibly can for our Rotary One. I learn so much every time I join your meetings, and I'm very delighted to do that.
Well, that's awesome. And we're delighted to have you, Martha.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sure. Kevin Stevens, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you. No, great program today, thank you. I am actually the governor-elect just to the north in the home district, 6440, and a member of the Rotary Club of North Chicago, home to Great Lakes Naval Station. So thanks for having me. Great program again.
You bet. Great to have you. Let's see, our next guest, which of course, barely a guest, really a regular member of our club at this point, Liz Gaggins. Liz, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, Eric. Hello, everyone. Great to be at another meeting. You guys always have a great program. And Eric, I hope you saw the post we put up on our Facebook page, our Be a Hero campaign. You are in our photo, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this well. So you're there with our past DG Haresh Ramchandani and some other members. So we've been putting up a lot of posts like this. We have Rotarians from all over sending us photos. Here's our Be a Hero bumper sticker we're giving out. So I would just ask everybody, send me a picture with your mask on, with your name and your club, and we'll be glad to put it up on our club Facebook page and Twitter. And my club is Rotary Club of St. Croix Mid-Isle. So I'll put my email in the chat and send those pictures. It's great fun putting them up.
Thank you very much, Liz. We're going to find that photo on Facebook, and we'll make sure to share it through our feed as well.
Great.
And thanks for including me. I appreciate that.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Our next guest is Mahfuzur Rahman Faisal. Mahfuzur, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi. Thank you, Mark. I am Mahfuzur Rahman. I am a member of the Rotary Club of Dhaka Premier, Bangladesh, District 3281. This is my first year in Rotary Club, and I am just trying to understand how Rotary is doing around the world. So I am here. Last week I also joined in your club club meeting. So I am a dentist here in Bangladesh. So I am doing a residency in orthodontics at this moment. So I hope I will join in your club in future again and again. So I will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Oh, fantastic. And yes, you're welcome anytime to join us, and good luck on your dental residency. Glad to see you. Let's see, we've got Nikki Ladour. Nikki, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Happy to attend the program today. I think it was great. Excited to expand my speaker horizon here from up north in Petoskey. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Petoskey. It is lovely weather up here if anybody has been up to see the fall trees in northern Michigan. I am the International Service Chair and PI Coordinator for our club. Have done some district work as well. But overall, what keeps me busy is certainly Rotary, and then I'm an account manager for Smart Recruiters. So it's great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome. Glad to have you on. And then I see a Tim Durkop. Tim, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. Tim Durkop down here in Miami, Florida. I'm a member of Rotary 1 in Chicago since more than 10 years. I used to be much more often on business in Chicago. That's why a long time ago I became a member in your club. And unfortunately, not often enough, I have the opportunity to join in person or also here via the Zoom meeting. But congratulations on your speaker today. That was really outstanding and fantastic. And I'm looking forward to participating many more times again.
Wonderful. Glad to have you on, and I'm glad you're a member of our club. That's fantastic. We'll look forward to seeing more of you.
Thanks.
Excellent. Well, very good. So thank you again to all of our guests for coming today. I want to move on to a couple of important announcements that we have here. First of all, I want to thank Sarah Buck, Bernard Groth, and of course, Pedro Ceballos, our past district governor, for distributing iPads to Roseland Hospital and Advocate Trinity Hospital on Friday. These iPads are part of a district project that our club was part of. And basically, we distributed 212 iPads to 29 hospitals and 28 nursing homes across the district. And the idea is to reduce patients and residents' isolation, loneliness, and depression during some pretty challenging times. So thank you for delivering those. And of course, thank you to our club for helping to support that financially. There are volunteer opportunities coming up as well. So Meals for Seniors, an extension of our COVID relief project, which started out as Meals for the Frontline, has pivoted to helping seniors for the same reason as the iPads. Basically, they're really sort of stuck with isolation and loneliness in ways that others are not maybe dealing with quite as much. And so Alita Williams has been delivering meals, dinners every evening to Maple Point Apartments at 150 West Maple Street. We're going to get that onto the calendar so that folks can sign up. This will be going on every Friday through the end of the year, and you can also reach out to Alita directly. November 14th, we're also going to have an all-hands volunteer activity helping to distribute hygiene kits, meals, and other things to the homeless, teaming up with the Safe Haven Salvation Army and the Night Ministry at multiple locations around the city of Chicago. Before we get to the 14th, we'll likely have a day where we're going to need to pack up some of these things. So there'll be multiple opportunities for volunteers, but I'm going to need as many volunteers as we can possibly handle. I do want to turn the floor briefly over to Marga Huco, who's going to tell us a little bit about the launch of our annual campaign that funds all of these fine projects, as well as My Rotary, which will help you contribute to the campaign. Marga, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eric. Hello, everybody. I'm Marga Huco, for those who don't know me. And this year, we have, well, like every year, we have an annual campaign, which means that we send our contributions to both the Rotary One Foundation and the Rotary International Foundation. And I invite you to think about how you can contribute, because as Eric said, our contribution is what fuels our projects. So the nice thing about investing in these foundations is that it comes back to us and it helps us fund our projects. So please check the website rotary1.org and scroll down to an annual campaign that you can see on the left side is the first photo. And you can click there and proceed to donate your contributions online. It's going to be the fastest, paper-free, paperless, I would say, way of contributing. And we'll be in touch. Our goal is $60,000 for the Rotary One Foundation and $15,000 for the Rotary International Foundation. So thank you very much. Back to you, Eric.
All right, thank you very much, Marga, and thanks for making that fast. And you can certainly reach out to Marga if you have any further questions on the campaign. A couple of other announcements here. The Rotary Network, this is always important, particularly at this time, for really getting additional value out of your Rotary membership. And specifically, there's a Rotary Means Business networking meeting on October 22nd. So connect with other Rotarians in business throughout the district and elsewhere. And that's at on the 22nd of October. And the link will be in the chat box here shortly. We also have, as always, committee meetings, board meetings. I don't need to go through those, but they are on the calendar. So if you're interested in getting engaged in international service, community service, PR and marketing, do sign up for one of those meetings. You don't have to be officially on those committees in order to join. We have some other meetings coming up that are very exciting. As always, of course, we have our Friday roundtable on the 4th floor of the Union League Club. Show up for lunch at noon. Anybody is welcome for that. And then we have on Tuesday, October 20th, our next regular program is absolutely fantastic. Polio today, COVID tomorrow. Marga, do you want to give us the 20-second overview of why that's going to be a very special meeting?
Yes, well, I have to say thank you, Eric, again. We're very proud to have the commitment of these 4 extraordinary speakers. One is from Pakistan, one is from Nigeria, that, as you know, the African continent has been named, declared polio-free. And this doctor has also been named one of the Time Magazine 100 most influential people. I highly, highly recommend you register and listen to what Dr. Tanji Funsho has to tell us. We have as well Anli Hassi, a polio survivor, and Judith Diamond, a giant in the world of advocacy for a polio-free world. So register, tell your friends, share the invite on your social media platforms, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marga. That one's going to be great, and we've been pushing that out. A lot of people around the world signing up for that, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Then the week after that, we have our very own District Governor, Chuck Corrigan, coming to talk to our club. And that meeting is also special because it is going to be our first dipping of our toe back to in-person indoor meetings at the Union League Club of Chicago. So if you've been hungering for that, please do show up on Tuesday, October 27th. But don't worry, it will also be on Zoom. So whatever your comfort level, we'll be able to accommodate that, and you'll be able to participate. And with that, we will, as always, move to the 4-way test here before wrapping up our meeting. And I'm wondering if you're still on, Mahfuzar Rahman Faisal, would you be able to read for us the 4-way test? It's on the screen right now.
Okay, sure.
Please go ahead.
Of the things we think, say you do first is 4-way test of the things.
Could you please read that out loud for the group?
Okay, the 4-way test of the things we think, say or do first. Is it true? Yes, true. Second, is it fair to all concerned? I don't think so. And third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Yes. Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? I'm not agree with this. Not all the person will be benefited.
Well, we'll have to have a philosophical discussion about that later, but thank you very much, Mahfuzar, for reading that for us. We always try to have our international guests read that, the 4-way test of what we think, say, or do as Rotarians. And with that, Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.